The air felt heavy, suffocating. It wasn't just the silence hanging between us. It was something deeper, something deadly. I sat across from my wife, Emily, watching as she nervously twisted her wedding ring around her finger. She couldn't even look me in the eyes. I had come home early that evening, hoping we could have dinner together. I even stopped by her favorite restaurant, picked up her favorite meal. But the moment I walked in, I knew something was wrong. She was sitting on the couch, her laptop open in front of her, but she wasn't working. She was staring blankly at the screen, lost in thought. "Hey," I said, setting the food down on the counter. "What's wrong?" She flinched as if my voice startled her. I frowned. That reaction alone sent warning bells ringing in my head. She took a deep breath, finally lifting her gaze. "Liam," she whispered, her voice so quiet I almost didn't hear it. Something in her tone made my stomach tighten. I knew I wasn't going to like what she said next. "I think we need a break." For a moment, the words didn't even register. A break? From what? From me? From our marriage? I blinked, staring at her, waiting for her to say something else, anything that would make sense of this. But all she did was lower her gaze again, as if she couldn't bear to see my reaction. I let out a slow, controlled breath. "A break," I repeated, my voice eerily calm. Emily swallowed, her fingers tightening around her ring. I need time to think." "To think about what?" She hesitated a second too long. And that's when I knew. That's when it hit me. There was someone else. I straightened, my body tensing. "It's Jake, isn't it?" She flinched. Her reaction told me everything. A slow, bitter chuckle escaped my lips. Jake, her ex. The same ex who had cheated on her. The same ex she had once sobbed over for weeks, swearing that she was done with him forever. And now she wanted to throw away 5 years of marriage for a man who had already proven he wasn't worth it. I clenched my fists, trying to keep my emotions in check. "So let me get this straight. You're leaving me to go see if your cheating ex is still an option?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out. She knew there was no excuse for this, but she still tried. "It's not like that, Liam," she whispered. I need to be sure. She wasn't sure about me. Not after 5 years. Not after everything we had been through. I exhaled slowly, my heart pounding. I had 2 options. I could yell, scream. I could beg, cry. I could try to convince her that I was worth more than this. But I wasn't going to do that, because I wasn't the one who had something to prove. I looked at her, really looked at her. And in that moment, I made my decision. I wasn't going to stop her. I wasn't going to fight for her. I was going to destroy her. Because if Emily thought she could put me on hold while she played with her ex, if she thought I would be waiting in the background like some backup plan, she had another thing coming. I leaned back in my seat, expression unreadable. "You know what?" I said smoothly. "Fine. Take your break." She blinked, surprised at how quickly I agreed. "Wait, Liam, I didn't mean..." I stood up. "You need time to think." I smirked. "Take all the time you want." She stared at me, confused. She had expected resistance, a fight. She didn't understand. I wasn't letting her go. I was about to make her regret ever leaving me. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Emily thought she had control. She thought she could walk out, put me on hold, and return whenever she pleased. She had no idea who she was dealing with. The moment she walked out that door, I made my first move. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to destroy everything she loved. Emily adored this house. She had spent years decorating it, filling it with expensive furniture, carefully chosen curtains, and little sentimental pieces she claimed made it feel like home. But she never owned a single brick of it. The mortgage was in my name, the deed mine. By the next morning, I was already meeting with a real estate agent. The market was hot, buyers were eager, and the best part? Emily had no idea. I didn't tell her. I wanted her to find out the hard way. She had left some of her things behind. Her clothes, jewelry, her ridiculous, Live, laugh, love signs. She expected to come back for them, so I made sure she didn't have to. I hired a moving company and packed up everything she had ever touched, every single item. The movers delivered it all to her mother's house with a single note attached. Here's your stuff. Good luck with Jake. Simple, cold, ruthless. I could only imagine her face when she saw it. I didn't block her number just yet. I wanted her to call me. I wanted to hear the panic in her voice. And sure enough, it came. The phone rang 3 times before I picked up. Liam? Her voice was laced with confusion. I leaned back in my chair, pretending I didn't know why she was calling. Emily? I greeted coolly. What a surprise. What the hell is going on? She snapped. Why are my things in my mom's house? I smirked. Right on schedule. Well, I said casually, you said you needed a break, so I'm just making things easier for her, or were you? She cut herself off, probably trying to control her temper. That doesn't mean you get to throw me out of our home. Our home, I repeated, amused. No, Emily, my home. She went silent. She hadn't expected that. She thought I'd be waiting. She thought I'd be pining over her. But I was 10 steps ahead. You can't do this, she hissed. Oh, but I can, I said smoothly, and I already did. I could hear her breathing, fast and shaky. Good. Let her feel it. This isn't fair, Liam, she whispered. Fair? I laughed. Actually laughed. Fair, I echoed, shaking my head. You left me to go see if your cheating ex was still an option. And you're talking about fair? She didn't respond. For the first time, she had nothing to say. I let the silence drag out, letting her sit in her own shame. Then, I ended the call. The house sold within 2 weeks, and when Emily found out, she lost it. She called me again, this time crying. Liam, please, she begged. Can we talk? I leaned against my car, staring at the sunset, feeling nothing but satisfaction. We're talking, I said casually. What's on your mind? You sold the house, she whispered, as if saying it out loud would make it less real. I smiled. Yeah, crazy how fast the market moves, huh? Her breath hitched. I thought you'd wait. And there it was. The truth. She expected me to wait, to sit in limbo while she tested the waters, to welcome her back with open arms if Jake didn't work out. I didn't respond. I wanted her to realize how foolish she had been. She sniffled. I made a mistake. I sighed dramatically. Yeah, Emily, you really did. And then I hung up. She was officially homeless, and I was just getting started. Emily was unraveling, and I loved every second of it. She thought she was playing chess, moving her pieces carefully, keeping her options open. She thought she had control. But the moment she walked out of my life, she had already lost. And now, piece by piece, I was taking away everything she ever cared about. I didn't hear from her for a few days after I sold the house. I expected that. She was probably in shock, trying to process how fast her break had turned into something permanent. Then one night, just as I was pouring myself a drink, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Emily. A slow smirk curled on my lips. I let it ring once, twice, then just as it was about to go to voicemail, I picked up. Liam? Her voice was shaky, hesitant. I leaned back against my kitchen counter, swirling the amber liquid in my glass. Emily. A pause, then, in a small voice, she asked, Can we meet? I could almost hear the desperation creeping in her words. I took a slow sip of my drink, savoring the moment. What? She hesitated, probably realizing she had no good answer. I just think we should talk. I let the silence stretch, letting her sweat it out. Then finally, I said, You want to meet? Yes. I set my glass down with a quiet clink. All right, Emily, let's talk. I picked the location, a quiet upscale cafe, the kind we used to go to when we were still happy. When I arrived, she was already there, sitting at a small table near the window, anxiously twisting a napkin in her hands. I took my time walking over, let her feel the weight of her decisions. When she saw me, her eyes widened slightly. "You look different," she murmured. I smirked. "Yeah, freedom does that to a man." Her throat bobbed as she swallowed hard. I sat down, relaxed, controlled, while she looked like she had barely slept. There were dark circles under her eyes. She had lost weight. Her hair, once always neatly styled, looked unkempt. She was falling apart, and I had barely begun. She took a deep breath. "Liam, I held up a hand. "Before you say anything, let me ask you something." She blinked, caught off guard. "Okay." I leaned forward slightly, lowered my voice. "When you walked out that night, did you really think I was going to sit around and wait for you?" Her lips parted slightly, but she said nothing. "You thought you could put me on hold," I continued, my voice even, like I was some kind of safety net. Like I'd still be here after you ran back to Jake and saw if he was worth it. She shook her head quickly. "No, it wasn't like that, Liam. It was exactly like that," I cut in coldly. She flinched. "Tell me, Emily," I said, tilting my head. "What did you think was going to happen? That I'd be sitting at home, staring at old pictures of us, waiting for you to figure things out?" She bit her lip. I didn't mean for things to go this way." I laughed. Actually laughed. "That's the thing about consequences, Emily," I said, leaning back in my seat. "You don't get to choose how they go." Her eyes welled up, and for a second, I thought she might start crying. But I didn't feel sympathy. Not anymore. "Liam," she whispered, "I made a mistake." I exhaled, shaking my head. "No, Emily. You made a choice." Her face crumpled. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said something that made me freeze. "I lost my job." I raised an eyebrow. "Is that so?" She nodded, swallowing hard. "I lost my biggest clients. I don't know what happened, but suddenly all my projects just disappeared." I took another sip of my drink, hiding my smirk. I knew exactly what had happened, but I let her keep talking. "I've been applying for new work," she continued, "but no one's responding. It's like I don't exist." I tilted my head slightly. "That's rough." She looked up at me then, her expression hopeful, like she thought this was her way back in. "Liam, I need help." "Ah, there it is." I let out a slow breath, placing my glass down carefully on the table. "Emily," I murmured, "let me make something very clear to you." She sat up straighter, her eyes locked onto mine. I smiled, slow and cruel. "I don't help cheaters." Her face crumbled completely. Tears spilled over, and for the first time, I saw true, undeniable regret in her eyes. But it was too late. I had no sympathy left to give. I stood up, throwing a few bills on the table. "Take care, Emily." And with that, I walked away without looking back. Because this wasn't the end of her suffering. It was only the beginning. Emily's life was crumbling faster than she could hold it together. She had no home, no job, no support. And now it was time to take the final thing she had left. Her reputation. People talk, and when it comes to betrayal, they don't just talk. They judge. Emily had spent years building this perfect image of herself. The devoted wife, the talented professional, the kind and loyal friend. But all it took was one truth to burn it all down. I didn't spread lies. I didn't need to. I simply told people exactly what happened. At first, it was just whispers in our friend group. Emily left Liam to see if her cheating ex was still an option. Can you believe that? Who throws away a marriage for a guy who already cheated on them? She really thought Liam would just wait for her. The sympathy she expected? It never came. No one admired her for following her heart. Instead, she became a joke. The woman who ruined her own life for nothing. She tried to do damage control. She started posting vague, pitiful quotes on social media. "Sometimes people don't understand your journey. Everyone makes mistakes, but real love forgives." I almost laughed. Real love forgives? What she wanted wasn't forgiveness. She wanted a reset button. But I wasn't giving her one. Then came the final blow. She had one last major client left, a company that had been her main source of income. I knew the CEO, and all it took was one conversation. Just thought you should know. Emily has a history of making impulsive, unreliable decisions. Wouldn't want her dropping your project midway. That was all it took. Her last project canceled. Her last paycheck gone. And now Emily was financially wrecked. It didn't take long before she finally broke. I got another call. This time, she didn't sound angry or entitled. She sounded defeated. "Liam," she whispered. "Please, can we talk?" I considered ignoring her, but then I thought, no, I want to hear her suffer. So I answered. "Emily." My voice was calm, cold. She sniffled. "I don't know what to do." I said nothing. "I lost everything," she continued, her voice cracking. "I can't find work. I can't pay rent. She choked on a sob. I let the silence drag. Then slowly, I said, "I told you, Emily. Choices have consequences." "I know." Her voice was small, fragile. "But I didn't think—" She trailed off. "Didn't think what? That I wouldn't take her back? That I'd still be waiting for her? That she could walk away and return whenever she pleased?" I let out a breath. "That's the problem with you, Emily," I murmured. "You never thought. You just assumed." She let out a broken sob. I just want my life back." I smirked. That life, the one where she had stability, security, and someone who actually cared about her. That life was gone. She destroyed it with her own hands. I leaned back in my chair, stretching out comfortably. "I hope Jake was worth it," I said coolly. She let out a sharp, painful breath. "Jake?" She hesitated. "He left." Of course he did. The man she had thrown her entire life away for. He had moved on instantly. Meanwhile, she was drowning in her own regret. Good. She deserved every second of it. Emily had finally hit rock bottom. She had no home, no job, no support. Even Jake had left her. But she wasn't done trying, because now she had only one move left. She called me again. This time, her voice was softer, weaker. "Liam," she whispered. "Can we meet? Please?" I almost said no. Almost. But then I thought, no. I want to see her fall apart. So I agreed. We met at the same cafe where weeks ago she had once looked at me with confidence, thinking she could throw me away and pick me back up whenever she wanted. Now she looked like a ghost of herself. Dark circles under her eyes, weight lost, fingers trembling around her coffee cup. She looked destroyed, and I loved it. "Liam," she started, her voice fragile. I stayed silent. She swallowed hard, her lip quivering. "I made a mistake." I took a slow sip of my drink. "Oh?" She nodded rapidly, her eyes filling with tears. I don't know what I was thinking," she stammered. "I was stupid. I thought Jake still loved me, but he—" She bit her lip, as if she couldn't even say the words out loud. I smirked, but he didn't. Her breath hitched. "No." She looked up at me then, hope glimmering in her broken expression. "But you did," she whispered. "Didn't you?" And there it was. Her last desperate hope that I was still waiting for her, that I still loved her, that I would take her back. I leaned forward slightly, my voice low. "Emily." She sat up straighter, hanging on to every word. I smiled. "I don't love you anymore." The words hit her like a physical blow. She flinched, her breath stuttered. Her fingers clenched the napkin so tightly it tore. "Liam, please," she begged, her voice breaking. "I can fix this. I can make it up to you, I swear." I leaned back, shaking my head. "No, Emily," I said simply. "You can't." Tears spilled down her face, and for the first time since this all started, I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just satisfaction. Because now she finally understood. She had lost me forever. I stood up, tossing a few bills onto the table. "Goodbye, Emily." She let out a choked sob. Liam, please. I didn't stop. I walked out of that cafe without looking back. Because this time, I was the one leaving her. And I was never coming back. After that, I never saw Emily again. She tried to reach out a few more times, but I ignored her. She sent emails, letters, even tried to talk to my friends, but it was too late. Word spread fast. She became a cautionary tale. The woman who threw away everything for nothing. No one respected her anymore. Her family was disappointed in her. She struggled to find work because everyone in the industry knew she was unstable and unreliable. She had ruined her life with her own hands. And I was thriving. I got a promotion. I moved into a high-end apartment. I started dating again. And this time I found someone better. Someone who actually valued me. Someone who didn't treat me like a backup plan. And that's when I realized something. Emily wasn't just the woman who betrayed me. She wasn't just the woman who broke my heart. She was just a mistake I had corrected.